Locker Room, with all the sports news you need, live.
Okay, very good evening to you and welcome to the Locker Room. You're watching us on Independence Live and you're listening to us as well on Indie Live Radio. There's no really escaping us tonight, Grim, is there?
No, absolutely not. But people like us, which I hope they do.
Yeah, until I speak about Hearts. What I'll do in a minute. So don't forget you can comment on anything that we're talking about on YouTube and Facebook. We're on as well. And I believe I say this every week, Graham, but I'm not sure. I think we're on Twitch now as well. Is that right?
I believe so.
Yeah. I don't really know what Twitch is. I'm quite old that way, Graham. I'm back in MySpace days and Bebo and all that kind of stuff, you know. But yeah, so we're here until 7 o'clock. Joined tonight by the wonderful Stephen Wayside. We thought we would give you a second bite of the cherry. I'm only kidding. Welcome back to the show. How are you, Stephen?
Yeah, I'm very good. Thanks for having me back on. Looking forward to tonight's show.
Yeah, cool. Oh God! It seems like the last few weeks, Graham, we've done the shows, and the shows has been very, 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 very. I think that's not very busy. But that's not obsessing tonight because we've got the European Glock to talk about. We've got the European games last night and Wednesday night, and we've got the transfer window. So that's why we're on until 7 o'clock, and we might need another hour as well. So, as I said, get your comments coming in on YouTube if you're watching it on Facebook as well. Just to remind you that we're on Sunday after the big or the small matter of the Glasgow Derby, Rangers against Celtic, and we'll keep you up to date with other games as well. Aberdeen against Hibs and Hearts against Motherwell. And I was actually just thinking about this together. It's ironic how we've got Graham and Stephen on the show tonight. So no fighting, boys. Please wait until after the game on Sunday. Let's hope it's 0-0 in that game. Before we, let's just dive in. Right, the Glasgow Derby on Sunday, 12 o'clock kickoff at Ibrox Stadium, 50,000 Rangers fans, and just a bunch of Celtic backrooms team and the directors going to the games because there's no Celtic fans allowed in there. We spoke out of this a few weeks ago about the game, Graham. I don't know about you, Graham, right? But this game's very interesting in a way in terms of last Saturday's performance, Celtic against Johnstone. Celtic were woeful, basically, for the whole game we spoke about. And then fast forward until Wednesday night, Rangers got a football lesson, basically, off PSV, out of the Champions League. They've yet to sign a player. So it's going to be a quite interesting game on Sunday because I think the tables has turned a wee bit. Well, I think that
very possibly. You know, as you mentioned there, Celtic weren't great last week. Disappointing draw, but as I said last Sunday, you have to. I think, as I said last Sunday, you've got to give St Johnstone credit because they were excellent. But Celtic aren't looking particularly great just now. It's a very early Glasgow derby. And I think as well, Celtic have just signed Nat Phillips from Liverpool, and they signed the winger Lewis Palmer as well as that, I think. So they've got a couple of decent players in there, and I think they will look to strengthen again. But it's a very...
Oops, Graham get carried away there talking about Liverpool. We get cut off. So, Stephen, what do you think of the derby coming up on Sunday?
It's a big one for both clubs, isn't it? I mean, it's the first one of the season. Both will be looking to get the 3 points on Sunday, but I think that there's a lot more pressure on Rangers than with Celtic, given the fact that they are at home. Celtic last night and they announced the signing of Luis Palma, and I believe that they're going to be signing Bernardo from Benfica in the next couple of hours, and Brendan Rodgers has hinted that maybe one more coming in as well. So new faces in at Celtic, and Rangers have now won the league in a couple of years now, so they'll be hoping that they can continue their good run of form, if you like, in the league or domestically, and keep Celtic for winning and making it 3 games without a win domestically for Celtic. But I think, again, don't ask me for the score prediction because they're always very, very difficult to call.
Do you think that the tables have turned a wee bit in terms of what I was asking Graham about, like last Saturday after the game against St Johnstone? They were Celtic were poor that day. To be honest, they could still be playing today, and I don't think they would have scored. But because that they've signed a few more players and they've had a week to prepare for the game, Rangers has been dumped out the Champions League, and I'm 99% sure that they won't sign any players between now and the window closing. That might come back to haunt me by that comment, but and Rangers kind of players and fans, their heads will be down. So do you think that the tables has been turned a wee bit?
I don't know if the tables have been turned. I mean, it's almost like a team that can't attack against a team that can't defend. I mean, Celtic failing to score against Kilmarnock and St Johnstone, and some of the defending for Rangers against PSV. I know that their fans weren't too happy with that. So it's going to be an interesting one. What I will say is whoever fails to win it, if someone loses it, then it just heaps the pressure on whichever manager comes away with a defeat.
Do you think it's going to be a test for Rangers because they'll be up against it, or they'll be playing against I should have said that they'll be up against 50,000 fans. No Celtic fans at the game, so I would say no excuses there for Rangers to slip up, because if they do, the fans will be right on the back.
No, absolutely. I mean, the start of the game is very, very important. The Rangers will come out the traps flying. I have no doubts about that. I think Celtic will be maybe looking to get to the first 20 minutes. It'll be interesting for me to see whether Nat Phillips starts and makes his debut in the Old Firm, having signed on loan for Liverpool this week. Because that's where Celtic's few issues. I mean, I don't think they can afford, no disrespect to Liam Scales, but I don't think Celtic can afford to be going into the game with him starting beside Lagerbielke on Sunday. So it's going to be interesting that first 20 minutes whether Rangers can get the early goal or whether Celtic can kind of feel their way into the game.
Do you think that Celtic, if you were a Celtic fan going into the game, you would want, obviously you want to win the game, but it's like Motherwell against Hamilton, like it's a big derby game, but like in terms of like, would you settle for a point at the moment at Ibrox? Because after that, you've got the international break and there's no game for like 2 weeks.
I think given the fact that Celtic are already ahead in the league by the point, then they'll probably be more likely to be the ones settling for the point at the weekend with his Rangers, and we're looking to make home advantage count. As you said, no Celtic fans in the stadium on Sunday, so it's going to be a raucous atmosphere at Ibrox, and they'll be looking to capitalise on that. I think negativity will slip in very quickly if they don't, because as I say, they lost at the start of the season against Kilmarnock and are now out of the Champions League. And I've seen Rangers fans saying online, don't really care about the Champions League, Europa League is our level. I get that to a point, but if you follow up defeat against PSV with defeat against your closest rivals in Celtic at home on Sunday, Michael Beale is coach on a shaky peg.
Let's look at the local league. I think this is Mr. Duffy coming back from his second appearance off the night, and that might not be his last appearance on the show. But yeah, we were just talking about the game on Sunday, Glenn, and we were going to talk about the European game. But before we talk about the European draw for Rangers, what do you think of the game on Sunday?
Yeah, just I was making a couple of good points there. My internet connection decided to die on me the first time.
That's why you were making good points. They cut you off. It's like, oh, I've never heard Mr. Duffy saying brilliant comments on the show. So
I've paid them, but yeah, I mean, I think on this, it's hard to call. It's very early for the first Glasgow derby of the season, and yeah, Celtic were awful last week against. They were miles off against St Johnstone, but as I said last Sunday, St Johnstone were very good. They deserved to get the point. But I think Celtic have now brought in Nat Phillips, who's a decent player. I've watched him, a Liverpool good player. He'll be really good for Celtic. They've also got the guy Lewis Palmer in as well. Again, could be a good signing. I don't know if they'll make to look any more signings by the end of the window, which is in about 6 hours' time or something. I think it closes in Scotland. So yeah, it's an interesting one. You know, Rangers obviously were hammered the other day, which might affect the confidence a little bit. But the fact it's at Ibrox and the fact that Rangers know that if they win, they can go top. Maybe not for long, but they can go top. Then it's a difficult game to call. You know, I just think Rangers defensively look so poor. They showed that on Wednesday night. They were so vulnerable at the back. John Souttar didn't exactly cover himself in glory. They were not full-on runners. They can't afford to do that on Sunday. But I just think Celtic, with a couple of things that they've made, I think they will look at to make up for that disappointment last week. It's going to be tight. I think it will be very tight. But I just have a sneaky feeling that Celtic might just nick this. But it'll be the odd goal, and I think it might be a very, very, very like cagey game a little bit. I think it could be like maybe 1-0 or 2-1. There'll be the odd goal in it, I think.
I was saying to you before you get cut off, by the way, before I ask you that question, well done for wearing a yes jumper. This is on the radio station that you could get away with wearing a yes jumper. So well done.
Fair. The last time I wore something blue, folks thought was a Rangers fan, so that was getting chucked right in the bin.
At least gets no saying no on that anyway. Or else you wouldn't be involved in the station anymore. Put my foot down, Stephen. You see what I did there? Exactly. What I was saying to Stephen there was, do you think the roles has been reversed in terms of like Rangers were heading into the game last week full of confidence because Celtic dropped points against Johnson and get knocked out the Viaplay Cup the other week. But it's fun how football works, isn't it? Because Celtic has had a week to prepare for the game. They've had they're signing about 3 or 4 players already. And the Rangers were going into the game on Wednesday confident, but after the game they weren't confident. So they'll be on a bit of a downer. Do you think that will work in Celtic's favour on Sunday, or does it not matter in these kind of games?
I think in these circumstances, I don't think it'll matter. You know, it's a Glasgow derby. Everyone knows what it means. As I say, it is very, very early in the season. 4th game in for a Glasgow derby. I don't think it'll make a lot of difference. I think this might be, and I'm sure it might be Michael Beale that mentioned it, this is probably the best game to come back to actually after a disappointing defeat on Wednesday night. To come back to a game against Celtic might be the ideal opportunity for them. You know, if they were coming back against, say, like, I don't know, no disrespect, but like I said, Johnson or Livingston, it might not be quite as high profile. But the fact that it's Celtic, I think they'll get a bit of a bounce off that, and the fact that they're at home. You know, if this was at Celtic Park, it might be a completely different occasion. 60,000 Celtic fans there, it could be a completely different occasion. But the fact is that Ibrox, they've got the fans behind them. They know there's not a lot of Celtic fans in the stadium. This might help them. I would imagine there'll be a few changes for that Rangers side because, again, they just looked defensively very vulnerable. You know, again, as I said earlier on, letting players run off them. Tavernier did it a couple of times. Raskin did it a couple of times. I actually thought the guy Lammers, when he came on, looked actually quite decent. Matondo, again, looked a real threat. but I think they'll make a few changes. But I just think going into this game, it's a massive opportunity for Rangers to go top of the league. You know, it might not be for long, but what an opportunity for them to kind of make a statement by beating Celtic in the opening game of the Glasgow Derby. It could be a massive opportunity, but I think if Celtic win this, I already think it's going to be difficult for Celtic with Rangers to play catch-up this early in the season. So it's a massive, massive game.
Graham, I was saying while you were away there, and that's why I think that the first 20 minutes of the game are so vital, because Rangers, they'll be looking to win this to go back to the top of the league. I think the pressure could increase if Celtic get through the first 20 minutes with Rangers. I'm expecting Rangers to be better than them, and then I think Celtic can look to work their way into the game for there. Would you agree?
100%. I honestly think, and this goes for any game, the first goal is crucial, but especially a game like this. If Rangers get it, they've got something to build on. Maybe try and get another couple of goals ahead. But if Celtic get it, then and if they get it early in that first 20 minutes, I think that Ibrox crowd will go flat. And they might start to think, oh, here we go again. Celtic again, we just can't seem to find a way to beat them. So I think it's going to be interesting. You know, Rangers fans will get behind that team right for the start. But if it's not going well, if Celtic are pressing them and pushing them back, and Celtic get an early goal, I think the atmosphere could fall really flat, considering what happened on Wednesday night. So I think it could be a really intense 20 minutes to start with. You know, if it gets to half-time, say 0-0, I mean, right now, I think both teams, would they take a draw? I don't know. I think it's just so early in the season. But I just think the chance that Rangers have here to go top of the league and make a statement could be big. But I just have a feeling, I don't know why after Celtic last week, but I just think going to Ibrox, you know, they've not got the fan base there. There's not a lot of Celtic fans going to be there. But Celtic know how to play these games. You know, I expect Callum McGregor to be a massive player in this game. I think the one thing that Celtic have to do, and I said this to Michael last week, they have to get Kyogo in the box. You know, there's no point playing Kyogo deep because that's not what he wants to play. He's a striker. He's got to get in that box and he's got to get crosses in there. So Kyogo could be a massive part in this as well. And again, another player I think could be massive for Celtic as well, because I do rate him quite highly, is Matt O'Reilly. I think he's a very, very good footballer. And he could have a big say on this as well.
Yeah, Stephen makes a good point there, because the first 20 minutes would be crucial in the game, because as you were saying, Graham, about if Celtic scores another goal, whether it's a set play or free kick penalty or a shot outside the box by Callum McGregor or whatever. But just because of the nature of the week, and I have saw on social media that if Rangers going to win this game, and Stephen mentioned it earlier on, Michael Beale's jacket could be on a sugary peg.
I think it's very early in the season for that. I think he will get more than enough time. But I think Rangers, for me, this season have to win something. Obviously, they want to win the league. That's the main priority. But they have to win something. They've now got a chance to win the League Cup because Celtic are out. They've got a favourable draw as well. Rangers are looking at thinking we can win the Viaplay Cup now. They have to win something this season. If they don't win anything, then I think he's under massive, massive pressure. Because we all know that Celtic and Rangers, if they have to win. You know, that's the way it should be. It's the same. I kind of include Hearts in this as well. Hearts should be winning a lot more than we do, but we just don't have the quality. But Celtic and Rangers have got to win something. So I just think if Rangers were to lose this game already, they're playing catch-up. You know, it could be a massive, massive missed opportunity. Hashbury stumbled. I read that McGregor came in for criticism, and I think he did, which is harsh, because McGregor's been outstanding for Celtic. Everybody, there's not one player, even Lionel Messi has an off day. It happens. McGregor's been fantastic for Celtic and for Scotland. And this is the kind of game on Sunday that I think he will grab at the scruff of the neck and say, right, I'm going to dominate this game. I'm going to dictate this game. And I think as well, talking about Celtic, and I said this last week, one of the players I think Celtic are missing is Hatate. Hatate is one of these guys that gets in the ball, who's really composed, he makes things happen. Celtic don't have that just now. And I do think they do look a bit powder puffers, as Lino said. They're just not, 2 games in a row against St Johnstone and Kilmarnock, they failed to score. That's very unlike Celtic. Now, I don't know. Michael, you're probably more capable of asking this because I don't know. But are you seeing a massive difference already between a Brendan Rodgers side and an Ange Postecoglou side?
I need to be honest with you here and say no. I think that the performance level has went back the way. It's too passive. It's too slow. And like when Postecoglou was here, he was in, we never stopped. That was a mantra of his first training session. I mean, I'm sure you remember the video that Celtic put out on the first day Postecoglou get the job, and we never stopped. But like that, and the past two games, it's been very, very different to that. And I know that, and I don't know what you guys has got to say on plastic parks, and football shouldn't be played on that, and we all know that. But Brendan Rodgers came out after the Kilmarnock game, and basically he was using the park and it's just how they get beat. But my point is, he wouldn't be saying that Celtic would win the game 4-0 or 5-0. But the other hand as well is like, don't use that as an excuse. You're a professional football player. You should be playing on any kind of like surface. Would you agree with that, Stephen?
I know, I definitely would agree with you on that point, but there's 2 points I want to make, and it's going back to what Hashbury Stumble says. Firstly, about McGregor coming in for criticism. I think when you look at it in the balance of the midfield under Brendan Rodgers, they've kind of had O'Reilly and Turnbull in there. And those two kind of go push forward, try and get into the box, and if the ball's cleared, it's leaving McGregor in that midfield himself, and I think that's why that they're going to go and sign a player like Bernardo from Benfica to help them get that balance right in the middle of the park. It makes a great point with Hatate. I think that's something that they've not got right there. And the other point, the second point I want to make is Graham talking about Rangers having to capitalise. That's why I think that Michael Beale will be under a lot of pressure if he doesn't win, because this is a Celtic side that are gettable at the moment, almost a wee bit wounded. And if Rangers can't capitalise on it, then now I think that with Brendan Rodgers' experience and Brendan Rodgers' experience of winning leagues, and winning trophies, something that Michael Beale doesn't have, I think this Celtic side's only going to go from strength to strength, whereas Rangers will struggle to get back at them if they don't capitalise on Sunday.
If Rangers lose this, they're 4 points behind already. Now that already, I know it's very early, it's only 4 points, but already that's a bit of a gap to catch up already. Rangers for me can't afford to lose this. Even a draw, I don't think it's a disaster. I know at Ibrox they want to win the game, but I don't think even this early on they can really afford to lose this. So it's a difficult one. It's a balance to kind of get they've got to get this right. I think they can't afford to lose. If they win, great, but if they draw, I think they're under pressure straight away.
I think a point's more suited to Celtic instead of Rangers, Graham, because of Rangers is at home as well, and because of them front row fans and all that, and the fans will basically be like a 12-man to them till like 95 minutes or whatever the case may be. And I think like if Rangers gets a point at home, I think most of the Rangers fans will be a bit disappointed with that, because they would be expecting to win. Fair enough, if the game was at Parkhead, I think they would get maybe settled for a point because they're away from home and there are no Rangers fans there. But because the game's at Ibrox, I think they would be so disappointed with a point, and I think they'll be all out to win. But I think Rangers would have to get off to a fast start, because I mean we saw what I'm getting the last Glasgow derby last season. Rangers were 1-0 up in about 20 minutes or something, and Celtic lost their place as well. Okay, the league was stunning. Over and done was weeks before that, but you still want to play you still want to beat your rivals every day of the week. It doesn't matter what competition it is in.
I was just going to touch on that point that Hashbury's made here. I think the loss of Postecoglou has affected the team's confidence, which is a fair point. You know, they're used to a manager that you've just said a minute ago has that mantra of don't stop. And they've now gone to Brendan Rodgers, who's got his own philosophy. But the thing is, when Brendan Rodgers was first at Celtic were completely dominant. You know, they won the treble, whatever it was. They were winning everything. They were playing really good football. They went 16 games unbeaten before a bizarre. I still can't believe I'm saying this, but a Craig Levein side beat them 4-0, which just honestly, I still can't believe we did that. But I mean, they were just, you know, they were unbeatable. They were invincible. And I do think Brendan Rodgers has come back a different type of manager. I don't know if that's a negative or not, but he obviously got sacked at Leicester. But I think he did a good job at Leicester. And he's come back to Celtic and you're thinking, well, to be honest, if there was one manager that Celtic fans might have wanted back, I know that you maybe didn't, it probably is Brendan Rodgers because he knows how to win. He knows how to win up here. And at the moment, it's not quite happening yet. But I do think that, and I've said this before, I think over time in the next few weeks, when Celtic get their new players in, get them bedded in, they get players back like Carter Vickers and Hatate and stuff, I do think Celtic will be a lot better. But I don't think there's any doubt that Celtic fans were so used to how Ange Postecoglou played, and now they've got to get used to a completely new system, a new formation. It can be difficult, but I do think Celtic will get better over the next few weeks, which I really don't want to think about because it's just going to get worse for everyone else.
Can I just come in there? I think that the players that Celtic currently have been so used to playing that Ange style, which is very direct. Get the ball forward as quick as you can, get in behind, win the ball back as quick as you can. And I think the one thing that highlights it more than anything is how deep Kyogo's coming. Mm-hmm. Kyogo's strength is to play on the shoulder of defences. And it's something that we've not seen. And I wondered if we will see it this weekend with Rangers kind of pinning Celtic back. Will they leave Kyogo up? As we lost Graham there, will they leave Kyogo up and look for that ball in behind and try and get in behind it? It's going to be very interesting, but it's something that I think needs to change. I don't think it suits Kyogo dropping deep. I think he needs to be playing on the shoulder and pinned in behind. You see it with the likes of Maeda and Abada as well. The wingers haven't been as pivotal this season.
Let's go on to speak about Rangers before we come back to and hear about Brendan Rodgers, what I said about the game on Sunday. Celtic's had a week to prepare for the game. They've had a few new boys in yesterday and today, and I heard Abada signed a 4-year deal today as well. So that's got to be more confidence for Celtic. Rangers get knocked out the Champions League against PSG the other night. They were drawn in the Europa League today. Graham, I don't know if you saw the draw. What do you make of the teams in it against Rangers?
I think they've got to fancy it, to be honest. You know, Real Betis, Sparta Prague and Limassol. I think they could probably get through that. Betis will be a difficult game. You know, a decent Spanish side. Sparta Prague are a name that we all know, but again, Rangers will be looking to win that. And Limassol, I'd imagine they can fancy that. I think that's a decent group. I don't think they'll win it. I think Betis will be the favourites, but I think Rangers can definitely finish second. But they've got to be better defensively because I just think they don't look quite confident yet. Shooter's made a couple of mistakes recently. I'm still, and I'm sorry if Josh is watching this, but I've said this numerous times. As much as Tavernier is great going forward, I think he's very poor defensively and always has been. If you get at him, you can cause him problems. You know, Goldson's mistake on Wednesday was laughable. I don't know what he's doing there, but I think it's a favourable group. Given the other teams they could have got in that draw, I think it's a favourable group. And I think if you're Michael Beale, you've got to be looking to get through that group.
Stephen, as for Celtic, Group F, Feyenoord, Lazio and Maglig in that one. I've saw a lot of comments on on social media that it's not as bad as first feared for Celtic, because when you look at the pots when they come out on Wednesday night, you're like, here we go. But it's an okay draw for Celtic.
No, definitely. That's something that I'd agree with. I think it could have been a lot worse. You look at the teams in pot one, the likes of Man City, you've got in there. They managed to avoid them. They managed to avoid the likes of Real Madrid and Borussia Dortmund in pot two. So, no, I think it's a group that they'll be looking at. And they've already been to Lazio in the Europa League and won over there a couple of years ago. And they'll be looking at this and thinking, we can do okay at home here. I just worry whether they're going to be able to get any points away. But no, it definitely could have been a lot worse. Certainly.
So now, well, Brendan Rodgers held his press conference today about the game on Sunday. So we're just going to hear what Rodgers has got to say ahead of that game.
It's an iconic game. It's a fantastic game to be involved in, and it's always, as I said, we go there and look to perform and play to the level that we want to play. Then we have a great chance of getting the result.
Yeah, of course, he was talking about the game on Sunday, Graham, but he also mentioned about the Champions League games as well. And what he was saying to them was, we're very excited about the games. It doesn't matter who you get in the Champions League at this level. They're always going to be difficult games, but we're going to deal with that when they come along. So do you think Celtic, without being overconfident, do you think they'll be kind of like semi-confident, if that makes sense, going into the Champions League games? Okay, they've got a few games before that, because obviously you've got Rangers and then you've got the Scotland game and the away to Livingston after that. So that home to Dundee and then away to Livingston after that. So, yeah, what do you think of them?
I think they've got a decent chance. Again, it's a difficult group, and you can only kind of, you've got to beat what's put in front of you. And I think Feyenoord, Atletico Madrid, all that, so it's a difficult group, but they were in a difficult group last year, and they did okay. They competed for a long spell against Real Madrid. It was a hard group, but I think this group is a decent group. Could they finish second? It's going to be difficult, but they're exciting ties. Atletico Madrid, we all know what they're capable of. Simeone is a good manager. I think they scored 7 last week against an opposition, and they don't usually do that. They're very defensive normally. Whether they've changed their system, I don't know. But yeah, I think it's one that Celtic fans can look forward to, I think. And, if they get out of that group, it'll be great for them. And obviously for the coefficient as well, it'll be even better, because it's not been great recently, as we well know. But yeah, I think you've got to look at that group and think, I've got to be happy with that, because like Stephen says, you look at other groups they could have got, that's probably one of the better ones.
They definitely didn't change their style. They still had 35% of the ball, but managed to score 7 goals. Mental.
Yeah, I suppose that's football for you. They only make one chance, Stephen. These kind of teams, as you well know. So let's go over to Rangers then. We're hoping to bring you Michael Beale's press conference. That's just been released in the past half an hour. They held it a bit late today for some reason. They must have known that we were coming on the show and just got upset the show, but there you go. The Europa League Group C, as we've alluded to earlier, Real Betis, Sparta Prague, them. Yeah, I mean, do you think the Rangers will fancy their chances?
I think so. No,
Yeah, I think there's every chance. I mean, again, you look at the groups they could have got. I think it's a decent group. As I said, I think Real Betis will win the group, but I think Rangers can easily get past Sparta Prague and Limassol. The games at Ibrox, for me, could be really crucial. But again, away from home is going to be the Achilles heel, I think, because I just think, as I said earlier, defensively, I just don't think they look particularly great. I think they look quite vulnerable, especially the balls in the box, as we saw on Wednesday for that third goal. So, yeah, I think Rangers will be looking at that. I think Michael Beale will look at that and think, yeah, I'm happy with that. Given I watched it earlier on, and given some of the groups, I think they've got away with a very decent group there. And I honestly think Rangers can finish second in that group.
Yeah, no, definitely. Definitely. Stephen, what?
I think that you look at Real Betis. They've got some great players. The likes of Nabil Fekir, Borja Iglesias, William Jose, who was on fire at Real Sociedad, and Isco in the middle of the park. So that's going to be a tough test for them. But you look at Slavia Prague. I was having a look at their squad, and there's no names that jump out. I know they had the Aiden Hložek there a couple of years ago, but he's no longer there in Limassol. These are two teams that Rangers should take care of, but I still expect the Prague game to be tough. The Prague game's a game that they'll need to defend well in, because many of these players aren't going to jump off the page. They'll still be very good technically, so Rangers need to make sure that they get the job done. But I really do fancy them, as Graham says, to come in second in this group.
Okay, so that is the Glasgow Derby on Sunday. I keep wanting to say Saturday. It's not Saturday, it's Sunday on Sky Sports, 12 o'clock kickoff. But listen to us after the show. After the game, Graham, that kind of rhymes a wee bit actually. At 3 o'clock, we'll be on with the post-match reaction and looking at the other games that day as well. Graham, I'm going to touch on a nerve here, right? I know I do this every week, but I can get away with it. Hearts get knocked out of the Conference League last night against Port. What's the chances of them getting another Scottish team in the Conference League? Of course, we have a group G, drawn against Aberdeen, Frankfurt and Helsinki today. What do you think of it? And do you think that you'll be expecting a phone call from the Aberdeen camp? Are you the mole in the camp?
I've been called worse. Yeah, it's a difficult group. It's just typical, isn't it? They end up getting the team that knocked us out. It's a hard group. As the draw was going, I thought there's some very difficult groups that Aberdeen could be in there. It's a tough one, but it's not one of the worst ones we could have got. I think obviously we know about Eintracht Frankfurt got to the final and got beat by Rangers. I think they'll beat Helsinki, I've said that already. Who was the other team they had? PAOK. It's a difficult group. I think Aberdeen at home against PAOK, we compete well against them. I think Aberdeen could do the same. Away from home, as we saw yesterday, it's a difficult venue to go. Their fans are mental. But you know what? They've got a chance. They do have a chance. I think Helsinki could be a game they could win. Like us last season when we beat RFS twice, Aberdeen could do the same. But honestly, looking at some of the teams that they could have got, I think they've got away with a decent draw here, because I think one of them was like Fenerbahce, Fiorentina, and somebody else. That's a very hard group. And as the draw was getting made, I thought Aberdeen could be on the end of an absolute disaster here. I don't think this is as bad as it could have been. It'll be tough, but I don't think it's anywhere near as bad as it could have been.
Stephen, I never saw the Aberdeen game last night, but just by looking at the scoreline, Aberdeen was well beaten. Were you disappointed how they put up a show like that, especially at home?
I don't think they were well beaten. And the scoreline, if you've not seen it, may make it look like that. But I think that there was a pivotal moment in the game for Aberdeen, and that's when Bojan Miovski had that one-on-one chance right after the penalty. And he then doesn't take it. And I think they were chasing a wee bit after that. If he scores that, I have no doubt that Aberdeen go on to win that game last night, because I felt that Hacken, with the exception of Sadiq, were average at best and very, very beatable. That Sadiq is a phenomenal player. But in terms of the group, like Graham says, I think Aberdeen will fancy their chances home and away against Helsinki. and to give PAOK a game at home. And I think it will be different for Aberdeen away because Hearts were obviously a goal down in a two-legged tie and maybe had to kind of be a bit more expansive, whereas Aberdeen can kind of just go there, soak up the pressure, and I'm sure they'll just try and get a point for that. But no, one of the easier groups definitely, and it'll be an interesting watch.
I'm gonna be really harsh here, right? I think that Majowski miss is awful. He has to score. He's clean through. He's got the goal at his mercy. I think he's got to score that. They missed a chance in the first half as well when Duke was clean through and it's a good save from the keeper. But if Aberdeen get that goal back from Majowski, they are right back in that game. I think that is an awful, awful miss.
No, I'd agree with you there, Graham, but it's not as bad as the one from Hristic for hacking right before the Aberdeen penalty. I think if you sat in my wheelchair in the 6-yard box, I'd fancy myself for tucking that one away. That's how bad I missed that was. So, but no, definitely a missed opportunity if you look at it over the two legs because there were chances in it for Aberdeen, but Hacken took theirs, hence why they're in the Europa League group stages.
Yeah, do you think it would be, obviously Dave's not on the show tonight and I know he was at the game last night, Graham, but do you think him and a lot of Aberdeen fans, okay, they're still in Europe, but a bit disappointed to be in the bottom tier of the European competitions now?
Absolutely, because I genuinely thought Aberdeen would win that game yesterday. I thought I saw enough from them last week in the first leg. I know they were 2-0 down, but I saw enough of them to say they could win that game at Pittodrie. To go 2-0 down was a massive blow. As Stephen rightly said, that guy Sadiq is a brilliant player, and it was his last game for him as well. But he's a phenomenal footballer. But, you know, Aberdeen were never out the game. They created numerous chances. They just couldn't take them at the right moments. And like I said, Duke in the first half. And you just get back in it through that Majowski penalty. And I'm honestly, when Majowski is going through on goal, I'm thinking, goal. They're right back in this now. And I couldn't believe he missed. To not even hit the target, that's shameful for me. He's got to score. And you could kind of feel the crowd get a bit deflated after that. And obviously get the penalty. And I genuinely had to laugh at myself because when the boy got brought down, I thought, that's a penalty. And I heard James McFadden say it's a dive. I thought, that's not a dive, that's a penalty all day long. So I wasn't surprised when he went to the monitor. I wasn't surprised when he went to the monitor and looked at it because I thought, he's made contact, that's a penalty all day long. So yeah, I thought there were moments in the game yesterday I thought Aberdeen were very, very good. They created plenty of chances. I thought it was a decent game actually, it was quite open. You know, both teams I thought looked really good going forward. But as Stephen rightly said, Hacken took the chance, Aberdeen didn't. But I saw enough on the Aberdeen side to say that I think they are going to have a good season. I still think, and I will maintain this, I still think that playing Thursday, Sunday is going to be very, very difficult for them. They have signed 12 players, though, so they've got themselves a decent squad. But I did see enough from them yesterday to say that they could be a really, really decent team this season. But when you get, especially in European games, when you get chances like Majowski had, you have got to take them.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's just ironic, Stephen, that the team still in Europe, albeit the bottom tier of Europe, and the team get knocked out in the first leg of the European game meets on Sunday at Pittodrie, Aberdeen against Hibs.
No, that will be an interesting one, but I look at Hibs. Hibs were never going to beat Aston Villa. That was just never going to happen. But in terms of Hibs domestically, I worry for them a wee bit this season because well they've got the likes of Vente, Boyle, Yuan. I just don't think there's a balance there. I look at the midfield. Say they go in the midfield with Campbell, Levitt and Newell. I think Hibs really there was 5 positions that Hibs had to get. They had to get a striker to replace Nisbet for one. I would have replaced David Marshall. I would have replaced Lewis Stevenson. I would have replaced Paul Hanlon. And then I look at the Hibs midfield. Hibs have got, as I say, players that are very creative. What they don't have is somebody in there with a bit of dig that can break up the play, put in a tackle. And the fact that they don't have that, is just going to heap pressure on the defence and the likes of Stevenson and Hamlin. That's why you've seen in their games against St Mirren and Livingston this season that they've scored goals, but they've also conceded, and that's a trend that I expect to continue for the rest of the season.
That's a good point, Stephen make there, Graham. I'm not saying you don't make a lot of good points from the show, Stephen, right? But we've kind of said this for a few weeks now, and I can't believe I'm asking a Hearts fan this question, but there you go. That's just me for you. That Hibs are a one-man team in terms of, and it might be a bit unfair. You can comment and say I'm horribly wrong on that one, but Martin Boyle, right, and also going back to Stephen's point about David Marshall. I mean, all that he got us to the European Championships with that brilliant save in the penalty shoot. But I do feel as though David Marshall's kind of a bit old now. I didn't want to say old by a sell-by date because that's a bit unfair. But do you think his best years are behind him, Graham? And I know what 100%. You're going to say about me. Yeah.
No, 100% they are. I said this last week. He doesn't look as confident anymore. And obviously, I know that they were getting beat anyway, but the goal that he lost last night, it comes out in a no man's land, which he's never going to get the ball, and the ball just rolls it in the net. He looks a very, very poor goalkeeper now, and it's a shame because he has been brilliant. But yeah, I think he's years behind. They've got a couple of goalkeepers now. They've got Wanacott, or whatever his name is, and they've got Boric. They need to start playing them more now because I think Marshall's done. He's had his time. And I think you're right in terms of Martin Boyle. I've said this before as well. I think, for me, he is their main player going forward. Listen, I've said before, I think Ellie Ewan's a good player, but he's very frustrating. Sometimes he looks great, and other times he looks really, really poor. So they need to strike that balance. And I think midfield, again, they don't look particularly great. I don't think they look very easy to play against. And I genuinely, and yes, I am kind of joking when I say this, but I genuinely think Hibs should sign the guy Liam Scales. So they've then got Fish Scales at the back. Boom, boom, I'm here all week.
Oh no. He was doing so well until that bit at the end there. Jesus.
I'm lost for words, Graham. Is that the time already, Stephen? 5 to 7? Yeah, it's been a long show. Yeah, well done, Graham. I've got bad news for you that the Edinburgh Festival is over, but the pantomime season's coming up. Oh, no, it's not. So, yeah, me and you could make do two ugly sisters. Not the horse, but so yeah, we were having several serious conversations about this game. I don't know if I would get to the show. Like, I need to sack you on the spot. Like, you know, I'll email you your P47 later for that. It's not worth P45, but going back on to the game. It's a shame because Hibs are, in recent years, Hibs been a decent team, and obviously they still are, but there's something missing at the moment, Stephen.
No, definitely something missing. I just think that, I mean, you look at in terms of what Hibs need. I think the perfect appointment for them, and St Mirren fans won't like me saying this, is Stephen Robinson, because what Stephen Robinson does is he goes in and he gets teams organised, makes them hard to beat, a bit in the mould of Stuart Kettlewell at Motherwell, and he gives them a real identity and style of play. You can see what they're trying to do. I just felt, as I said, with Lee Johnson, his signings were all very attacking minded, where Hibs needed maybe people in other positions to as I say, to replace Stevenson, to replace Hamlin, to give them a bit of dig in midfield. I don't think Jake Doyle-Hayes or Jimmy Jeggle's the answer to that issue. So, no, I think somebody like a Stephen Robinson would be ideal for Hibs.
Well, Stephen Robertson was that.
Do you know, that's the thing as well. I mean, that's the thing, Michael, I was going to say. I mean, if they sign Liam Scales, they've got more of a balance. Boom, boom, I'm here all week again.
We have a producer on the show now, so it's within the producer parameter if you want to throw Graham off, because we won't miss him, but also Graham, right? I'm going to get more. I'm going to get Mon back here, right? I don't know if this is up to your standards, a joke, right? But you're creating a very thin line. Right?
That doesn't work. Although actually, someone I like this one. Graham dated a bird that worked at Edinburgh Zoo, but found out she was a cheater. Well, to be fair, I have dated a few of those, and again, to be fair, it's not Latin. Because if you're Lee Johnson, he talked about chasing lions, so I'm just going to leave that there and move on.
Stephen, what do you think of all this talk about Neil Lennon going back?
He's someone who knows the club. He's someone who knows the Scottish game. I think he would get the best out of people like LUN. Because I've been told, and I've heard my dad used to work at Celtic. I've heard that Neil Lennon is a very good manager. So it would make sense. I just don't know. I think there's a manager, as I said, out there, and Stephen Robinson, and who is just one manager a month. And if they can go and give St Mirren the compensation for him, I think Robinson would find it very difficult to turn down, given the increase in wages and the size of club that
I'm gonna be serious. Right, I spoke to a couple of Hibs mates, and yes, I do actually have mates that are Hibs fans, and they don't want Neil Lennon back, and I kind of understand that. I think it was a bit of a listen. I think he did well, but there must be other managers out there rather than bring somebody else back. I think Robinson would be a good appointment. You mentioned it last week, Michael, and again, I don't think he'll get linked again. David Monday for me would have been a shout. I know that he probably won't go, but I think that would have been a shout. But I know they're looking at a guy called Nick Montgomery as well, that's Central Coast Mariners manager, and apparently he wants the job. So there are other managers out there. I think if they go back in, and I know that Neil Lennon has basically said that he would be quite happy to go back. I just don't think that's a good appointment, though. I don't think, I've said this before as well, I don't think you should go back. I think once you've done it once, don't go back. And I've said this about Hearts as well, about John Robertson and stuff. I just think that's done now. I think they've got to move on from that. And if they go for Robinson, I think that's a good appointment. I really do.
Well, Stephen Robertson was asked to get at his press conference because, funny enough, that was the first question that they asked him about the game. But I asked Stephen Robertson's a professional, a bit like Graham sometimes, when it comes away with some professional jokes that are not funny. He never answered that. So there might be more to that in a few. And don't forget, you've got the Scotland games coming up as well, Graham. So, we're not going to try and sell Stephen Robertson to Hibs, but as we always say, and back to your usual joke, money talks.
No, it does. 100% it does. And I think, obviously, as Lino doesn't want Robinson to go to Hibs, understandably, because he's done a great job. But if the money's there, if the offer's right, and I think Robinson would be tempted by it, because no disrespect to St Mirren, I hate saying this as a Hearts fan, Hibs are a bigger club. So, and I actually feel sick in my mouth saying that. But, it's going to be a difficult decision for him if he's got to make it. But I do kind of think that they might go for that Nick Montgomery at Central Coast Mariners, who apparently is a decent coach. They were after that Graham Arnold as well, who seems to get linked with every job under the sun, but he's basically turned that down. So it's interesting what they're going to do. I think the thing is as well, they can't sign anyone because the window's going to be shut in a few hours. So they've got to work with whatever they've got. And you said this last week. Any manager coming in is going to be working with Lee Johnson's players. Now, are they good players? I think some of them are. But again, I think there's a few of them that could have been at the door, because I just don't think they've got enough quality in that squad. So come January, whatever Hibs are, the new manager can have to get money in. He's going to have to strengthen that squad in January. And again, this is a thing as well. Lee Johnson was backed. 700,000 for that guy Venti. He was backed. So you can't say he wasn't. So I think any new manager coming out of Hibs has got a decent squad there, but they're lacking massive confidence. And again, I keep talking about the fact defensively, I just don't think they're good enough. They lose far too many goals, they lose far too many cheap goals, and the goalkeeper thing's a problem as well, because as mentioned there, David Marshall is now passing Serbia, unfortunately, because they're a great goalkeeper. So they've got issues there. But that game of Swindon is going to be massive. I don't see anything other than Aberdeen win at Pittodrie. I just think Hibs are going to be 4 out of 4 defeated. It's a very difficult task from going up there after that.
Stephen, what do you think of Aberdeen coming off of a big European game last night, getting beat, still in Europe, but another big game against the Highbuys who don't want to go into the international break with another defeat?
No, definitely not. I think the only one they've had this season came against Stirling Albion in the Cup, so that shows you that they've been struggling to get back to these. And I think it's weird because we talk about pressure in the Celtic and Rangers game for different reasons. I think there's pressure on not both managers necessarily, but both clubs to get a win in this one. So you know what's going to happen. It's going to be a boring 0-0 draw because they're going to be both terrified to go for it. But no,
have you been listening
big pressure on both clubs.
Have you been listening to Graham's predictions for the past season and a half? Where it's going to be a fantastic game, and it's 0-0. But
I tend not to listen to Graham when I can, to be honest with you.
Sorry, I did that all the time. He's still here. So let's move on to this will shut up Graham up a wee bit actually. Let's move on to the Race Egg Duffy Derby. Wow, that was a mouthful. Hearts and Motherwell, Graham.
I have to talk about this. Where do I even start, honestly?
Okay, Stephen, on you go.
Now, listen. I think that we come into this game in good form. I mean, to get a result last weekend against Kilmarnock, when we basically didn't have we had Theo Baird and Joe Efford, but we didn't really have a main two strikers up front. So to come away for that game against a team that hadn't conceded all season with 3 points, massive. We've made a great start to the season. We've just brought in Ollie Shaw, and in the last couple of minutes, actually the last 10 minutes, we've just signed a guy called George Gent, who's a left back on loan from Blackburn Rovers, came through Manchester City, so he's on loan for the season. Listen, in terms of the game, I think all the pressure's on Hearts, and I'm sure Graham will agree. They've not made the best start to the season domestically. I don't know whether going Thursday, Sunday has had an impact on that, but I'm hoping that a wee Saudi Arabian team come in and steal Shankland at the last minute. And no, I think all the pressure's on Hearts for Sunday. Would you agree with that, Graham?
Do you know what? We should have a segment in the show called Graham's Rant, because I'm going to go on one now. But yeah, I mean, Stephen is right. The pressure is on Hearts, but listen, last night wasn't unexpected. I thought we'd get beat. But there are issues on that Hearts side. One of them is called Kai Rolls, who has been an absolute disaster waiting to happen. He's an absolute bomb scare. He needs to come out of the team because he cost us at least 2 goals last night. That second goal, what he is doing, letting that boy get a hook shot over his head and scoring that goal, is a joke. He's far too soft. The third one's even worse. A ball over the top, Rose gets caught like he does numerous times, and it's 3-0. He needs to come out of the team on Sunday. If he's in that, I said this on Twitter last night, if Rose is in that starting 11 on Sunday, I'll be raging. The other thing that I've got a problem with is midfield. We have a plethora of midfielders there, and yet we're playing Toby Sibbick in midfield or Alec Cock in midfield. That's a massive, massive worry for me. We do have Benny out, we do have Hanning out, which I understand. But we've got other midfielders there. You could have started Denham last night. You could have started, not that I wanted them to, but you could have started Hallery last night. We are struggling in midfield. I also look at the management, and I just think now I've had conversations with a couple of my Hearts mates that were on today. They want McAvoy and Naismith to go. I don't agree with that. But what I do want, and what needs to happen, and what I saw on Twitter last night, now needs to be the time where McAvoy steps back and Naismith gets the job full time. Because this whole thing about having two managers there isn't working for me. Players for me look lost, they look confused. I actually watched one of the games last week. And at one point you had Naismith out in the touchline barking instructions, and then you had McAvoy in the touchline barking instructions. So it's like, who do we listen to? That needs to get sorted. Now, I saw a comment from Barry Anderson yesterday that said that will change. It has to happen now. If it's not going to happen today, it's going to happen on Monday. That needs to get sorted out. We need to get this management thing sorted out fully. One voice is all you need. Because for me, this whole management thing now is not working. I think the pressure isn't Hearts on Sunday. There's no doubt about that. We are coming off the back of a horrible performance.
Oops. That's Frank McAvoy. Cut him off there.
That's what I mean. Frankie McAvoy and Stevie Naismith have just cut his Wi-Fi, I think.
Yeah, no, I know. But do you think that that's not helped Hearts any this season? Is Stephen?
It hasn't at all, as Graham was saying. I think at any club you need clarity as to who's calling the shots, and as Graham rightly says there, 1 minute you've got McAvoy shouting instructions, the next minute you've got Naismith shouting instructions. I don't know why, if they were going to go down this route of keeping Stephen Naismith there, they didn't just give him the job in the first place. Why? Where was the need to bring McAvoy in and kind of make it a co-job, if you like? And maybe Graham can shed more light on that for me, but it's confusing for me from a neutral to see that they've done this, because it just creates that confusion in amongst the squad, I imagine.
I've been on record saying that I didn't want Naismith in charge in the first place. I know that last season they had 7 games, they won 2 of them. Performances were better, don't get me wrong. We obviously hammered Ross County. We were good against Aberdeen. We played well against Celtic, got a draw against Rangers. But for me, 2 wins was not enough to give him the job. So for me, it was and folk have said it's a cheap option. It was a safe option for me. And I just think it was the wrong appointment. There were other managers out that could have taken the job. It was the wrong appointment.
Who did you want?
Marty Cifuentes, a Swedish guy at Hammarby. He looked the right option for me. Or I don't really know, but would have rather not have had an experiment. This for me has been an issue. We've appointed a guy that was managing the B team last season. Hearts is too big for him. I like Stephen Naismith, and I think he'll be a good coach, but not for Hearts. It's the same as the Ian Cathro experiment. It didn't work. It's the wrong appointment for me. And I've already seen a lot of folk now saying that they have to go. I'm going to give Naismith time. You know, he needs time. And I do think, again, I've seen a lot of folks say that this squad's not good enough. I don't agree with that. I think the squad is very strong, but for me, the biggest issue is the management of it. They're not playing players in the right position. It's square pegs round holes. We're starting games far too slowly, like we did yesterday, like we did last week. It's happened all season. And again, players are making mistakes. I can count honestly how many mistakes that have led to goals from Kai Rolls. He needs to come out of the team. He's got no confidence. But going into Sunday's massive now. This for me is a worry, because if I'm Motherwell, I'm looking at this now thinking, this is a great chance for us to win at Tynecastle, because Hearts are coming off the back of another heavy defeat, a poor performance. And I'll guarantee you right now, if Hearts haven't scored in the first 20 minutes, that crowd will turn. If Motherwell get an early goal, that crowd will turn. So this is going to be a really difficult game to call for me. Hearts have to win this. If we don't win this, there'll be massive pressure on Robinson, on Naismith. And again, maybe this is just me, but another thing that I don't like, and again, this is maybe being harsh, and I'm sorry if it is, but last night I saw pictures before the game of Joe Savage in a bar with Hearts fans jumping up and down. He's a businessman. That for me isn't a great look. I want him in that boardroom, and I want him making calls to get a midfielder in and a right back in. I thought that was a poor look yesterday. Now, folk will say that that's very harsh. He's enjoying himself before a game. I don't agree with that. I just think that was a very bad look. And we look rudderless right from the top. And I said this earlier on in one of the shows that we did previously on the show. I am very worried that this experiment is going to fail. I hope it doesn't, but I'm very worried that it's going to fail.
Before we speak about Motherwell, Stephen, I want to touch upon the manager situation at Hearts, and I know that that could go up two ways, right? If Hearts would have won last night, I don't think we would be speaking about this now. However, that's ifs, buts, and maybes. They're out of Europe, and that's it. But the thing with that is, do you agree with me that you don't have to have a bit of paper to say, oh yeah, I've got a UEFA qualification, I can now manage in Europe? To me, if you're a manager, you're a manager. And if you've got all your qualifications in Scotland, that should be counted as, you don't need a kind of qualification to say
A continental license.
aye, yeah. Because if you're a manager, Stephen, you can't, change it.
No, I take that point, but I can lead you into the Motherwell situation perfectly here. Everything that Stuart Kettlewell brings to Motherwell, organisation, identity, know what you're getting, is everything that's missing at Hearts at the minute. And that shouldn't be happening for a club of Hearts' size. Hearts should be, in my opinion, alongside Aberdeen, the next out with the Old Firm in terms of quality, and while they may be on size, it's not reflecting on the pitch and maybe and the staff at the minute. I think that they need to get this sorted, and it's very difficult once things start to go this way, where people are questioning it and saying that it's not working. Very, very little do you see it turning around. And I don't see it turning around at Hearts, unfortunately, Graham, until they're out the door.
I mean, I kind of said this last night as well in another couple of group chats that I'm on. I don't see, and you've mentioned it there about Stuart Kettlewell. I don't see a plan. I don't see a style of football. It is very much. If somebody said to me last night that Robin Nielsen was in that dugout, I would have believed you, because I'm not seeing any kind of change. Now, again, I think I said a few weeks ago that I went to an open training session at Tynecastle a few weeks ago with McAvoy and Naismith, and it was actually a decent session. And I heard McAvoy and Naismith both talking about the fact that they want Hearts to be a team that presses, plays on the front foot. I've not seen that yet in any game. We have started every game so far so slowly, passing sideways, passing backwards, passing for possession's sake. We're getting a lot of possession, but doing nothing with it. I'm not seeing a plan and a structure for the moment. Now, I think in time that might change. We do have a lot of new players that need to bed in. The one positive I would say, well, two positives I would say at the moment are Frankie Kent and Kenny Vargas. I think they look really decent so far. And again, you mentioned it earlier, Stephen, and I do think we will keep him. It is imperative that we keep Lawrence Shankland. We have to keep him. If he was to go now, and I don't think he will, but if he was to go in the next few hours, I think we're a bottom fixer, because without his goals and without his quality, we're not a one-man team. We've got a lot of good players in there, but without his goals and his quality, we're going to struggle. We have to keep. I think we will, but we've got to find a formation and a system that's going to suit us. And I mentioned it earlier. We need to get the management thing sorted, because I'm not seeing at the moment. I'm not seeing a plan, and I genuinely am worried that if we don't beat Motherwell, there's going to be fans calling for Naismith's head. I won't be yet. I'm going to give him plenty of time, but I can understand why those calls are going to come.
Obviously, you can't speak for all the Hearts fans, Glenn, but because of the situations with the kind of so-called joint managers, let's just call it like that, do you think there's a kind of divide in the dressing room?
It's a tough one. I mean, Craig Gordon said weeks ago that all the players know who's in charge. I don't know if they do. And the thing that I find a bit concerning as well, now again, obviously, I don't know the ins and outs of what's happening in that Hearts dressing room. I've got no idea. But I said this on Twitter last night, and a few folks said this isn't true, but this is the way I feel about it, having watched what I've watched so far. I don't think a lot of stuff that's happening so far at Hearts I don't think Naismith had a lot of control over that. I think McAvoy is a bigger say in that team and that dressing room than Naismith is, which is why I think it's important that this gets sorted out very quickly. And if it's not today, obviously not after Sunday, but maybe Monday, I'm hoping that Hearts come out with a statement to say that Stephen Naismith is now in sole charge. That's what I want to happen, because I think that Frankie McAvoy is having far too much of a say on this. And I just don't think he's good enough. He might be a decent coach, but he's not a manager for me. He managed short time at Preston, but I just think that Naismith, honestly, given what I've heard and given what I've seen from Naismith so far, and given his interviews, I watched again last night, Naismith, although not saying it, looked absolutely furious at full time yesterday. And I just think he wouldn't have set the team up like that. I think McAvoy sort of had too much to say for himself. So I think this needs to get sorted one with the other. But again, looking at the reaction on Twitter last night, the reaction from some Hearts fans, they're not happy. And I do get it. But I mean, listen, you two are outsiders. You can look at this from a kind of subjective point of view. Do you think, as outsiders, that Frankie McAvoy is having too much of a negative influence in that team? Because from what I've seen, I think he has.
I completely agree with you. I think when you look at Naismith and his interviews, it just looks deflated, completely deflated. It's as if he knows that there's something there to work with, but he's kind of a horse with the reins on them a wee bit. He's not been given full control. I completely agree with you. And Frankie McAvoy, I think he was at Hamilton at some point as well. My dad says he's a really, really good coach, but there's a difference between being a coach and a manager. And I think that you really need, as I say again, I'll echo myself, but you need that clarity and role. You need to know what's happening. Craig Gordon's not going to come out and say, oh, we don't know who's in charge. So see him coming out and say, oh, the players know. That obviously he's going to say that. Do you know what I mean? He's not going to say anything else. So I wouldn't read too much into that. I think you can see what's happening for yourself.
I think in terms of Sunday, I do think we'll make a few changes. As I say, Rolls needs to come out. I think I'd like to see Tagawa start. But, I mean, just in terms of Motherwell, Stephen, you've obviously talked about the fact they got Ollie Shaw there, an ex-Hibs player. I mean, how do you think Motherwell are going to play this? Because, listen, coming to Tynecastle can be daunting. Even for any other team in the Premier League, it can be daunting. But Stuart Kettlewell sets his team up really well. I don't know if Ollie Shaw will start, I'm not sure. You talked about the guy they've signed as well, Gent as well. I mean, how do you expect Motherwell to come out of this game? Because we're off the back of a horrendous defeat, lacking a bit of confidence. We obviously lost to Pike last week, lost to Dundee, we've lost again yesterday. How do you think Motherwell will treat this game?
I think it plays right into Stuart Kettlewell's hands and Motherwell's hands in the way that we like to set up. You've already touched on it. Stuart Kettlewell makes his side really organised, and you've also said that if Hearts don't score in the first 20 minutes, the crowd could turn. That, to me, it just plays right into our hands to go and either sneak a point or sneak a 1-0, because we are not a team that, watch us touch wood, because hopefully it's no 4-0 on Sunday by the time I've said this, but we have yet to see evidence that Motherwell are a team that will get cut open. And I think that we can really frustrate Hearts on Sunday and come away with something. I think it plays right into our hands.
What do you? Sorry, I've just got to ask Michael. What do you make of the signing of Ollie Shaw? Because again, he's a decent striker. You know, he was at Ross County, maybe didn't quite set the hurdle. Like, what's your thoughts on that signing? Do you think he's going to be a good signing for you guys?
I'm hoping so. I mean, Kettlewell had him at County, and by all accounts, that was one of his best spells in the Premiership. So, listen, it's going to take time. I'm not expecting him to come in on Sunday and bag a hat-trick, for example, but I think that it's someone that Kettlewell's worked with. What I've seen from Kettlewell with his signings at the moment is he definitely knows how to get the best out of them. So, you've seen that with Theo Bair scoring in his debut. I'm hoping that trend of Kettlewell getting the best out of players kind of continues. And to be honest with you, I'm excited for the season ahead. I think we've had a great window, given the fact that we've lost Van Veen. If we can keep getting points now, when we get the likes of Bereth, Wilson and Obika back, we're going to be a force in this league, I think.
You mentioned Stuart Kettlewell, so let's hear from Stuart Kettlewell. Now he was speaking to the media ahead of the game against Hearts on Sunday.
I know we're going to face a good Hearts side. I know we'll face a pretty vocal support, and I think that we're going to have to be our absolute best to try and take something from the game. So that's as simple as the message can become from me. The specifics of it, as always, we've had some extra days to go and prepare and work on it, knowing what our next game is. So we've been really specific on how we want to play, but also what we think Hearts will do, not so much in personnel, but how they'll maybe try and set up. And it's important again that we try and execute that game plan that's been set there, ever since I came in. We've just not trained so that we don't have any injuries. No, we're pretty much the same as we were last week. Obviously, you guys know it was well documented last week who's out and who's missing. There's no change to that other than the fact that we might have the opportunity to add maybe one or two to the squad that weren't there last week.
There we go. That's Stuart Kettlewell speaking ahead of the game against Hearts. I don't know if I've had the opportunity to say to ask you this, Stephen, as well, but do you think if Kettlewell come in last season, do you think Motherwell will get finished in the top 6? And I know it's a bit early on in the season. We're not even past the first month yet, but are you quite confident of this season?
Yeah, I'm confident getting into this season, but to answer your question on last season, I thought under Stephen Hamill we played some really, really good football at times. I think that the undoing of Stevie Hamill's time at Motherwell was when Joe Efford got injured. We were still trying to then play a system that involved wingers when we didn't have it, and leaving Kevin Van Veen up front himself. I made a call into Go Radio, into another radio station, should I say, in October, November, saying that we had to change to 2 up top, and that's something that when Stuart Kettlewell came in was one of the first things that he did was put a strike partner up there with Kevin Van Veen. And when he came in, we didn't look back for that. I think in the form table, since Kettlewell's appointment to the end of the season, we had only had 1 point fewer than Celtic, and we're actually ahead of Rangers in the form table. So given how we've started this season, given how we ended last season, I think that I've got every right to be confident of a top 6 finish, because there's always that one team from Hibs, Hearts or Aberdeen that don't necessarily do as well as you expect them to do over the course of a season.
Stephen, can I just ask you actually on that? I was going to ask you about that because I didn't know you until you came on the show. But I wanted to ask you about Stephen Hamill. Obviously, it didn't go that well. He's a legend at Motherwell. Do you think that he deserved more time, or you've just mentioned about the Joe Efford thing there? Do you think that was the ultimate thing that cost him, or what went wrong under Hamill? Because I think he's a really good guy. He's a legend at Motherwell, as I said. But what do you think went wrong at Motherwell under Hamill?
Well, to answer your question, first of all, I don't think he deserved more time, because there was a game that we were 2-0 up against Kilmarnock, and Kilmarnock had 10 men. They managed to get a draw against us, and their away form was woeful last season. I think Stephen Hamill's made a couple of mistakes, and one of them, again, as I pointed out, was not changing the system, because players that he did bring in, Kettlewell, ended up picking up on it, and they were very, very good for us. But not changing the system, and to me, not having someone beside him. It was his first job, and he had Brian Kerr beside him now. Brian Kerr, great coach, but I think he needed someone beside him who had experience and had managed before. And that's exactly what Stuart Kettlewell did with bringing in Stevie Frail. I think that's been an appointment for us that a lot of people will bypass and not look at, but I think it's been absolutely pivotal in how we've picked up our form.
I was just going to ask her, how important was it to get Stevie Frail in? Because obviously he's had experience with Hearts, and obviously he was at Celtic for years, and the youth kind of like set up as well.
No, absolutely pivotal, and I think he's got some contact in the game as well. So he managed at Hearts. I think he was at Dundee United for a bit as well. Vital, Michael. absolutely vital to how we're doing.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, I mean, and what do you think of Motherwell's hopes? Kind of like, I know I said this to you early on about Stuart Kettlewell, but what do you think of their hopes overall? Are you hoping for a cup run and doing well in the league?
I mean, we're still only 3 games into the season. I still don't think you know how the league's going to pan out until everybody's played each other once, and you kind of start to get a feel of who's where, and you go for there. But again, our form's been amazing since Kettlewell came in. I'm a bit worried at the minute because we're without Mika Bereth, Wilkinson and Obika. So we really need Shaw to come in and Theo Bent to step up in the goals department. But you seen last week, Harry Payton and Dan Casey with two brilliant finishes to get us the win against Kilmarnock. I don't think that's something that we can rely on, a centre-back and a holding midfielder scoring every week. But no, again, winning is a good habit to get into, and winning when you had a poor first half against a tough Kilmarnock side, for Kettlewell to be able to make a tweak and change that second half, I go into this way with nothing but confidence this season. Nothing but confidence.
Before we go on to the Saturday games, Graham, I'm sure you would like to give praise to the Hibs fans because apparently, they were well beat over the 2 games, but we've had a few comments and saying a big shout out to the Hibs fans. They were brilliant last night at Villa Park.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of comments today. So again, people, thank you for your comments. It's always much appreciated. Ronan McLean, another newbie of the show. Big shout out to the House fans who were brilliant last night at Villa. Yeah, I mean, it's great to see the House fans going there and enjoying themselves. Obviously, the tie was over, but they've had a party, and that's what we'd expect. You know, we went down to Liverpool a few years ago, and the atmosphere there was unbelievable. So yeah, fantastic Hibs fans. I'm sure the result wasn't what they wanted, but they've got a great support. And again, a lot of folk talk about the Scottish game, and people say the league's tin pot. The fans certainly aren't. The fans are passionate. They get behind the teams, and it's great to see that big support. Hearts took a decent support through over at Grace yesterday. So yeah, we are very well supported. And to be honest, I'm going to say this now. I don't think Villa will have a better support away from home this season than Hibs fans gave. And they're playing in the Premiership, but I think Hibs fans, to be fair, were very good last night. And, much as I'm a Hearts fan, I'll give credit where it's due. I'm not one of these biased folk that hates Hibs completely. It's great to see. It really is. And I hope they fail in the league. That's the one thing I would say.
But that's not what you say when we're on air, Graham. You say something completely different. Anyway,
I've got to be professional on the show. Come on.
Let's move swiftly on. Back to the Saturday games then. Before we get into speaking about the Tayside derby at St Johnstone against Dundee of the weekend, let's hear from the St Johnstone manager ahead of the game against Dundee. Is Stephen McLean. He was speaking yesterday to the media.
Jay Wright's improving, but not running yet. Nicky Clark's back in the grass, so he'll probably be, I wouldn't like to put a time frame on it, but he's getting better, so he's still weeks away. Ali Crawford's on the grass, so he should be soon back. And Callum Booth, I'm not too sure yet how long he'll be.
Stephen, was that a surprise to you that how St Johnstone went to Celtic Park last weekend and got a well-deserved point?
I think it was a surprise to everybody. I mean, they hadn't done anything in the first 2 games against Hearts or Ross County, and they were battered by Stirling Albion and put out the League Cup group stages. But no, fair play to them. The goalkeeper Meathoff had one of the games of his life. Made 2 or 3 great saves, and maybe that point for St Johnstone can be a catalyst in kicking them on. I think the match against Dundee, I'm right in saying they're at home tomorrow, so they'll be looking at that.
Yep.
As a big opportunity for them to get 3 points. I think it's one that they need to get 3 points and to kick on their season, because it's all right getting points at Celtic Park, but you're going to be judged if you're Stephen McLean in these games against the teams that are round about you.
And that's a thing, Graham. Stephen said about it's all right going to Parkhead and Ibrox and picking up points there, but you've got to then back it up for like the next week in terms of tomorrow's game against Dundee. I mean, they're at home, they're in front of their own fans, and this is the last game before the international break, so they were going to finish on a wee bit of a high.
Yeah, and I will admit when I'm wrong, apart from to my wife, because I'm never ever right. As we all know, we're never right. But yeah, I was completely wrong last week in saying that Celtic would hammer St Johnstone. I got that very, very wrong indeed. But a lot of folk did. But yeah, they've got to build on that now. You know, if you can't get confidence from getting a 0-0 draw at Celtic Park, you never will. They'll look at this game tomorrow and think Dundee beat Hearts last week. They were decent, don't get me wrong. They deserve to get the win. But at McDermott Park, they have to follow that up. You know, going to international break on the back of, 4 points against Celtic and against Dundee would be great. And it would give St Johnstone something to build on. The funny thing is, St Johnstone have not scored a goal yet they're still above Hibs, which is funny. But, I think St Johnstone have got to look at that now and think, we have to build on that now. You can't go to Celtic Park and get a draw and then, fail to beat Dundee. So it's a massive game, and I think they will get a lot of confidence from that now. They have to. As Stephen has mentioned it there, they were on a horrible run. But that result last week is fantastic. To go to Celtic Park, not concede, and actually look a threat on the break as well. I talked about it last Sunday.
They scored.
Yeah, Stephen May for me probably should do better. It's a difficult chance, don't get me wrong. He's at a tight angle, but I think he maybe should do better. But if they can go to Parkhead and create chances, they've got a great chance tomorrow. They really do, but they've got to be looking to win this game now. I still do believe that they will go down. I'm sorry, St Johnstone fans, if you're watching this. I do still think they'll go down, but they've given themselves a massive chance now. They really have, and it's going to be a massive, massive game tomorrow. And do you know what? I actually think St Johnstone might win tomorrow. I don't think it'll be my predictions are really horrible, but I don't think it'll be a great game. I think it'll be very, very difficult, but I think St Johnstone might just sneak this one.
There you go. So it'll be a very entertaining game, and it'll be 4-3 to St Johnstone. There you go. You've heard it here first, Stephen. That's why you come on the show, Stephen, for a bit of a laugh at Graham's jokes and his predictions as well. And keep up with a professional like me, and stuff like that. And you get a nice smile into the bargain as well. What about I know a lot of people, Celtic fans, were saying on social media last week, Stephen, after the game, that Celtic were disappointing. They were, but don't take anything away from St Johnstone, because they actually defended very well, and their goalkeeper had a brilliant game as well. Saying that, Celtic had a few chances in the first half to make it 2-0. Kyogo and O'Reilly, I think, had 2 brilliant chances in the first half. But as I say, don't take anything away from the Saints, because they did well.
No, exactly, absolutely. And they've even went there and created a couple of chances. So it's not as if they've went to Celtic Park and just defended for 90 minutes. When they got on the ball, they tried to be expansive with it and tried to make things happen. And I think that's something that you need when you go to these places. It's all right defending well, but can you threaten going up the other end? And that's something that they did do. Dundee, though, if we move on to them, I think that they had a really good game for them against Hearts. Last week it was a great goal, although I'm sure Graham, when he comes back, will pick the holes in it defensively. Why they had Zander Clark taking that free kick and going short, I do not know. But Dundee are a different proposition, I think, to the Dundees that have came up in the past. I think they've really recruited well. I mean, the signing of Trevor Carson, somebody I know well, for playing at Motherwell, and the likes of Scott Tiffany, and they've got a few young boys in there who are decent as well. I think Dundee have got a real good squad, and I think for the team that have just come up, and I fancy them to stay up this season.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on it there. That, I mean, obviously we were doing the show last week, so I haven't seen the goal until I watched it back. I genuinely am stunned at what we did for that. Why is Zander Clark running 30 yards to take a free kick short? I don't get it. If Zander Clark stays in his goal, that goal doesn't happen. There's so many mistakes in there. Firstly, Zander Clark taking the free kick was wrong. Secondly, Kai Rolls, who's been awful, put it up the line. Why he's giving that to Aidan Denham, who's got 2 Dundee players charging him down, is a mistake. Denham takes a poor touch, but I'm not going to have too much of a go at him. He's 19-year-old. He will learn. And then again, the third mistake, Frankie Kent goes to intercept and steps back, and I think what he's trying to do, he's thinking he's going to play the pass in, and he just misreads it. And don't get me wrong, it's a great finish from McKeown. It's a brilliant finish. But there's so many errors in that goal, it's unforgivable. And there's a lot of people I could blame for that, but I blame Zander Clark. Why a goalkeeper is coming 30 yards to take that free kick, I do not understand. And I watched Naismith or McAvoy or God who knows whoever's in charge. I watched Naismith last week coming out and saying about that goal, and he was raging, and rightly so. It's pathetic. It really is, and it sums up how Hearts have done so far this season. But yeah, I think Dundee, I mean, I think they could have a decent season. Again, the thing is, it's deadline day today, and it's been very quiet. There's not been a lot of major signings happening this season. I thought Dundee might have strengthened. They might still, because the deadline in Scotland closes at midnight, so they might still do business. But yeah, I think they'll look at that game tomorrow and think, again, it's a game to get something from. But I just think St Johnstone with that kind of, after last week against Celtic, they must be thinking we can beat Dundee at home. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do, but yeah, Dundee last week deserved the 3 points, but that goal was just, you could have put that on Comedy Central. It was just embarrassing.
And I for Dundee, Stephen, you mentioned it earlier on. I mean, see, when you look at the squad, they've actually signed, most of their players on loan, but they're starting to Tommy Dock is starting to build a decent squad there, especially the boy Tiffany.
I completely agree. And I think you talk about the way Stevie Naismith's kicking back to Hearts, but Graham was touching on the inexperience. It's his first job. Stevie Naismith came back into Hearts and then managing the B team and taking the job there. I think somebody like Docherty is a good way to look at how to do it right. He's been assistant to Derek McInnes for years. Probably getting a bit tired of being the assistant, gained plenty of experience from McInnes, and now went into management. I think, and he's obviously got an eye for the player over his time being an assistant to McInnes, because I think they've recruited really, really well. They've just signed Ricky Lamy on loan for us, who was meant to go there initially before the tap-in, meant that he got another 2 years at Motherwell. Mental, but I think they can look forward to. I don't think they'll be top 6, but I don't think they'll be relegated. I think they'll be in that horrible position as a football fan where you're kind of a 9th and 8th. You're not in a lot of trouble, but you're not really pushing the top 6 teams either. That's what I expect Dundee to be.
I think, honestly, I think Tiffany's a really good player. Watching Partick, he was really, really good. He's a fantastic player. And after last week, having watched Scott Tiffany, I felt very alone. And I hope you get that joke.
Yeah. Sorry for this, Stephen. Maybe that's why Nigel's not here this week. Maybe that's why he's away at the golf. You hit the club. I don't know.
Hopefully, when his team starts winning games, as part of stops. By the way, and I'm hoping it doesn't. I'm hoping they don't start winning games on Sunday. I'll know he'll end it next week.
You've got 2 weeks to wait because Scotland's in the middle, so it'll be on fire for 2 weeks. But you mentioned about Scott Tiffany, Glenn, right? And I think I said this to you after the Ross County Thistle playoff game. I think if Packet Thistle skeg up this season, if Packet Thistle went up to the Premiership this season, I think Scott Kiffin would still be at Thistle.
Yeah, more than likely. I think he would be. I think to get a guy like that to sign for Dundee is very impressive, and he started really well. You know, we know what his qualities are. He's good on the ball. He's got a bit of pace. He's creative. He's a very good player for Dundee, and I think part of Thistle are going to miss him. But yeah, I think Dundee just. I think I said this in the squad. I think they'll stay up. I think they've got a decent enough squad there, but I am surprised they've not strengthened it further. They've got a lot of loan players though as well, which I've noticed. But yeah, I think Dundee will be fine this season, and Tiffany will be a massive, massive player. I'm looking forward to the Scotland games coming up. I'm going to be honest. I don't want to talk about Scotland, but I'm generally looking forward to them. The Cyprus game and that England game is going to be brilliant. Like I said, no matter if it's a friendly or not, it's going to be fantastic. Scotland against
never
England.
a friendly. It's never a friendly. No.
Even playing Tiddlywinks against the Englishmen wouldn't be friendly. It's going to be brilliant. I'm looking forward to those games.
Yep, and well done, Graham. That kind of leads me on to the other programs we've got coming up. Well done, Graham. You think you would be working with me for a while, but it's only in 5 minutes. So we'll go back to the Premiership games in a minute. But Scotland has got 2 important games coming up. Starting next Friday. Mark it in your diary because we won't be here at 5 o'clock. We'll be away to the bingo or whatever. Graham will be away to the comedy club and nobody will be there. But anyway, yeah, it's a bit harsh, but it's true. Don't worry, I'll come and join you. Cyprus against Scotland next Friday night. Kickoff will be on at 10 o'clock on the Friday night. And on the Tuesday night, Scotland against England. I've never heard of that team. We'll be on after the game at 10 o'clock, and we might be doing a special show before the game. But we'll tell you more details about that as soon as I've got them. And so we'll give you more details on that over the weekend. Of course, we'll be back on Sunday as well. And also, I'm sorry to say this, Graham, but we're doing the European games as well this season. So Celtic, Rangers and Aberdeen on the first night. And that will begin on, late September they start as well. So we'll be on Tuesday and Thursday at funny times as well. So watch out for that one. Back to the bread and butter, as I say, in the top division. Livingston against Mirren. Graham, what do you think of this game tomorrow?
Again, another difficult one. Livingston off the back of a brilliant victory against Hibs last week, and it was deserved as well. And being at home, they'll fancy it. But St Mirren, they'll be gutted for taking 3 points against Aberdeen last week. I think they deserved it. You know, that late goal from Majowski. But yeah, it's a difficult one. And again, I listened to David Martindale through the week and basically talk about the fact he's surprised that no kind of big clubs come in for Newbley, which again I get, because I've said numerous times, I think Hart should have been an offer for him because I do rate him. I think he's a really good player. He's quick, he's strong, he's someone that I think Hearts could do with. I'm surprised that another team's not gone for him. But I think, again, maybe it's a case of Livingston maybe need the money as well, which is why he's going to stay in. Could somebody please come in for him? We need the money. But yeah, it's a tough one. It really is. I think St Mirren, again, on that plastic pitch, it's not ideal. But this is a tough one to call. I really think it's a tough one to call because I think Livingston are going to be fully confident after last week. Scoring 3 goals at Easter Road, but then that's not really difficult. But it's going to be tough. I really think it's going to be tough. And I think, for me, if Livingston can win this, and again, I think I said before when the show started earlier in the season, I said I think Livingston are going to finish 11th because I just don't see enough quality in them. I kind of still believe that. But, again, after last week, you talk about St Johnstone have got to build on their result. Livingston have to build on their result last week because they deserved it. They could have scored more against Hibs. So this is a tough one. It really is a difficult game to call, I think.
Stephen, we say this every week on the show that Livingston has got a decent skiggy going to Livingston as well. And we had a comment on the chat as well. St Mirren's going to take a big support there tomorrow. So do you feel as though that when an away team goes to Livingston, it feels like a home game, if you know what I mean by that?
No, it does, but I don't think that's something that stopped Livingston from getting results at home and having decent home records over the last couple of seasons. That's going to be an interesting one. I think Graham touched on it there. David Martindale talking about Joe Newbley. I don't think he's quite in £1 million player for me. I think he can go missing in too many games of the season. He does have attributes, no doubt, but I'm not surprised that nobody's come in and bid £1 million for him when his contract's running down, and they'll maybe be able to get him on a free. And I think I don't know if it's this season that he's out of contract, but they'll maybe be able to get him on a free very soon. But no, that game, it's going to be. I think that this is one of the ones that's got a draw written all over it. To be honest with you,
don't fall into Graham's crap, mate.
St Mirren it's just the easiest result to predict, mate. St Mirren will feel aggrieved that they're not top of the league, because I do think that there was a double touch on the Miovski penalty at the end of the game last week. So they'll be aggrieved that they're not top of the league. Robinson's just got manager of the month being linked to Hibs. I just see 1-1 written all over this, to be honest.
Yeah, no, because, I mean, even though Livingston's not got a big support of Graham, but when you go to Livingston, no matter if you're St Mirren, Celtic, Rangers, or even Hearts in that matter, you know that you're going to be in a game.
Yeah, 100%. They'll make it difficult. Livingston always do. And it's a difficult place to go, and it can be a difficult place to go. I mean, to be honest, I think one man and his dog would have more support than Livingston, to be honest. Sorry, Livingston fans, hope you're not watching this. But yeah, it will be a difficult game. But I just think St Mirren have got that bit of quality. I know there's been talk as well about people looking at Bacchus. What time is it now? 1:45. I don't see him leaving.
Still got another 5 hours.
Yeah, I don't see him leaving now, to be honest. I think they'll probably keep him. And again, he's a good player. I'm surprised that a Hearts, Hibs or Aberdeen hasn't gone in for him. So yeah, they've got a really good squad there. I think St Mirren, I've said already, I think they will finish top 6 again this season. I really like, but again, a lot of that might depend on if Robinson stays. If he goes to Hibs, it's going to be more difficult, because who do they then get in? Could they go for Stuart Kettlewell? Not to wind up Stephen there. But yeah, it's a difficult one. But but yeah, I just think that St Mirren have got a good squad there. I'm really impressed with what they've done. I really like Robinson as well. So yes, I just think St Mirren away from home again. They've already beaten Hibs away from home. I just think they look a good side this season. And I'm not just saying this because Asvino's watching, but I just think St Mirren look a really good side. And I do think they will finish top 6 again. Could they finish 3rd or 4th? Potentially they could. You know, depending on how Hearts do this season, Aberdeen and Europe, Hibs look a bit of a basket case just now. They potentially could finish top 3.
The last game of the weekend, we got there. Kilmarnock against Ross County. Before we talk about the game, it's been very quiet, as you guys have been saying. But apparently, Ross County are okay. Yeah, sorry, good sort of a news here. Apparently, Ross County has got all their business done. However, they're looking at a possible loan move for Huddersfield Town midfielder Scott High. I wonder if he's happy. Or maybe he's just high, I'm not sure. About the Graham. Yeah, so as I say, Ross County is hoping to get a loan move done for Huddersfield Town midfielder Scott High, Graham.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anything about it, I'm not going to lie. I don't know if he's a good player or not, but if that's what Malcolm Mackay wants, then that's fine. I think County have got a decent squad. I do. I think they've got a really good squad there. Again, I've watched them a few times this season, and I've been impressed with them. I said last week as well, I thought they'd have given Rangers more of a game last week, especially in the first half. They were better second half, but first half they were disappointing. But I do like what Ross County have done, and I think Malcolm Mackay's done a good job there. I think Kilmarnock, again, there's been a lot of talk about Derek McInnes maybe being offered the head job. I don't know if he'll go there. I'm not honestly sure about that. But yeah, it's another intriguing game. I think Kilmarnock, for me, I said very first show back, or the first couple of weeks back, I said that I think Kilmarnock could be a surprise package this season. I genuinely think they've got a very good squad there. They'll be disappointed they lost to Motherwell last week the way they did it in the last minute. But Motherwell deserved it on basis of the second half. So again, it's an interesting one. This could go either way. I think both teams are pretty much level in terms of squads. They've got decent squads there. But yeah, I think this is an interesting game. But I like what Kilmarnock have done so far. I like the job they've done. I like the transfers they've got in. Again, I thought they might have brought in maybe one more forward, because I just think they're a bit lacking up front a bit. But I think they've both got very good squads, and it's a difficult game. This potentially could be a scoring draw.
There you go, 5-4 to Kilmarnock then. What do you think of the game tomorrow, Stephen? Do you think Kilmarnock will get back to winning ways after the defeat last week? And also, do you think that they would like to finish off this run of games before the international break on a high?
Oh, absolutely. But I think that if you're Ross County and Malky Mackay, you're looking at the start of the season and going, Jesus Christ, computer, you could have given us an easier start than that. They've been away to Celtic, had Rangers at home, and now they need to go away to a Kilmarnock side who were in great form at home all season last season. Now I think they've got a better squad. I think the only side that managed to beat them out with the Old Firm at Rugby Park last season was Livingston. So that shows you how tough a task it is going there. And I think that they look, even though we get two into them, they look really solid at the back. I think they've got a great squad, and I think that they'll see past Ross County tomorrow.
Sorry, Grim.
No, I just thought of a question I was going to ask Stephen there. It's about Motherwell, sorry, but I just wanted to ask you about Harry Payton. Obviously, he scored last week. Really, really good touch. What kind of player is he? Because I was impressed with him last week.
It's weird because I don't kind of know whether he's more of a kind of a box-to-box kind of a midfielder, I think. More of a kind of a replacement or answer to losing Mark O'Hara. He's somebody that Stuart Kettlewell knows really well. But again, I've not seen a lot of Payton myself, because he came in, I think it was for the last 3 months of last season, and then he's been injured in pre-season this season, and that was his first appearance, but he bags a goal. Listen, if he can continue that, I'm more than happy. I think what he will give you is he'll give you a real energy and a real effort for the time that he is on the pitch, and I think that's something that you need in midfield, is somebody with good legs and good energy. So I think that's what he'll bring to our midfield.
Yeah, no, exactly. Graham, it's quite funny us doing a show, and I was going to say it's quite funny how you're making jokes, but there you go. It's a first for everything to do. But it's a bit weird how the transfer window shuts on a Friday. It's usually a bit back to front. It's usually like on a Monday or a Thursday or something, but not a Friday.
Yeah, and I genuinely expect it to be a lot busier. I know it has been in England, but for Scotland, it's been so quiet. There's been very little getting done. I know there's still a wee way to go yet. There's a few hours to go. There might be business getting done, but it's been so quiet. I mean, obviously, I know there's a Scottish football show, but as a Liverpool fan, and I've said numerous times, the Saudi market is a pain in the butt, I'm going to be honest. And the fact that Al Ittihad have put in another couple of bids for Mo Salah, I've already said that I'm more confident he won't leave. Not now, with a few hours to go to the window. But there is that doubt that Lawrence Shankland could be offered a deal. I don't think he'll go. I genuinely don't think he'll go.
The thing that you've got as well, though, Graham, is that the Saudi transfer window doesn't actually close until the 6th of September. So to go to the Salah thing, it'll be interesting to see whether if they come in with 200 million, which is crazy money for anybody, whether Liverpool will be able to turn that down. That is a lot of money for the 30-year-old. 200 million.
Liverpool have been very, very vocal on the fact that they're not going to sell, and you can't lose your best player with 5 hours to go to the window. So
No,
Liverpool
I agree.
But He's going nowhere. And I think as well, the whole Saudi thing's just an absolute joke. I mean, I said this last week. If you're going to Saudi Arabia, you're not going there for the experience. You're going there for the money. That's all you're going there for. Salah
Absolutely.
does, and I know that Michael touched on this last week. And again, I've heard a lot of folk talk about this, and I think he's right, and I hope he's not. But I genuinely believe that in a couple of years, you will see a Saudi team in the Champions League, and that will just be horrendous. They are basically buying the win at the Champions League. And again, you look at guys like Jota, who's gone there. You look at Jordan Henderson, for example. You look at guys like Ruben Neves, who's gone there. It's just a way to make money. And these guys don't need it. They've got no need to get the money, but it's all they're going for. I heard earlier on, when one of the bids was made for Salah, I heard the amount that he could make, and it's ridiculous money. Listen, if I'm getting offered that, I'm probably thinking about it, but it's ridiculous. And I genuinely do think in a couple of years, we had this, 3-4 years ago, when they talked about the Super League thing. I wouldn't be surprised if that comes up again, but this time it's a Saudi team that comes into this. I think it'll happen. I think honestly, I genuinely believe this. I think if that happened, it would be the death knell for football, because it's just money.
Well, what will then happen if the Saudi teams do join the Champions League or another European competition is they'll find themselves having to fit in line with UEFA's financial fair play regulations, which they currently don't have to because they're not based in Europe or playing in any European competition. If they do, then their spending will be capped. Whereas now, this is why you're seeing them just throw 175, 200 million at Liverpool as if it's nothing, because they have no cap in their spending. And I think that's what's ruining it, is the fact that they've got absolutely no cap on what they can spend, so they're just throwing money at players. And it's very, very difficult for them to turn down.
What you mentioned there a minute ago is right. You know, you talked about the fact the Saudi market doesn't close for other people. And that is a worry, it seems like, well, particularly Hearts as well, because there's been a lot of talk about Saudi. I don't think they would go, if I'm being honest. But there is that concern that if a Saudi team comes in for anybody in the Scottish League for ridiculous money, it's very hard to turn it down. But you then can't strengthen. So that's the worry. So say if a Saudi team I don't think this will happen, for example, but I'm just going to put it out there. But say if a Saudi team came in for like Callum McGregor for ridiculous money, Celtic might think, well, we can't bring anyone else in, but it's a lot of money. And that's the problem. It really is an absolute... This Saudi, for years and years and years, nobody ever thought about the Saudi League. And now it's just getting ridiculous. It really is. And again, there's been a lot of talk about the whole human rights thing, which I completely agree with as well. You know, it's ridiculous, all this stuff. I mean, Jordan Henderson, for me, I'm a massive Liverpool fan, as people know. But for me, him going over there was a disgrace. But it's about money. It's all it is, it's money.
Money talks, yeah.
Yeah, it's like Jota going to Saudi Arabia. You're not going there to further your football career. You're going there for the cash. That's all you're going there for. And I just think it's ridiculous. And it's going to get worse before it gets better.
And now he's not getting a game from it for his team, you know. But anyway, let's speak about the big league, the Championship in Scotland. Yeah, hey, I'm surprised there's no games on tonight. But anyway, we're just going to run through the games for you tomorrow. Arbroath, Ayr United, Dundee United, Airdrie. Morton will play Packet Thistle. That's an interesting game, that one actually. Dunfermline, Inverness against Dunfermline, and Queen's Park against Raith Rovers against Queen's Park. Graham, what's your pick of the games there?
I think Raith against Queen's Park could be a decent game, actually. I think Raith have started the season quite well. You know, I was surprised that Arbroath won 3-0 last week, which is a great result. But I think Raith against Queen's Park could be a decent game. Again, we were all kind of on the show last season talking up Queen's Park and saying how great it would be if they came up. They just couldn't quite do it, which is a shame. I think they might fall off a cliff this season. I hope they don't. But again, a lot of folk probably at the start of the season, wrongly or rightly, I don't know, probably had United as favourites. I'm still not sure if they are. But I would like to kind of see Dunfermline coming up, because I like Dunfermline. It's not that far away either. You can get over quite comfortably. But I say it every season. I genuinely say it every season. The Championship is one of the best leagues in Scotland. It's so competitive. You've got so many teams potentially come up from that league. Again, I think Arbroath might struggle again this season. I would like to see Queen's Park come up. I don't think it'll happen though. But I mean, again, Stephen, I don't know if you've watched much of the Championship so far, but what are you making of it so far? And do you think at the moment there's an outstanding team right now?
I still think we're at the point where teams are feeling their way around each other. But one game, if you're going to ask me for my game of the weekend, is Dundee United against Airdrie. I think Airdrie have started the season great under Rhys McCabe, playing some great football. And I bet that's something that you didn't think you'd hear a Motherwell fan saying about Airdrie. But no, I'm really impressed with them, to be honest with you. I need to call it as I see it. And that's a big game for Dundee United tomorrow, because they already dropped points at home, I believe. I think it was against Dunfermline later on. So they were looking at that game tomorrow against Airdrie, and if they win that, then I think, okay, Dundee United looking good. But if they lose that tomorrow, it could be tight between a lot of clubs. I think there's you've got Queen's Park, Dunfermline, you've got Dundee United, Airdrie and Raith at the minute, who are all kind of thereabouts. It's going to be between them, and they just need to feel out who's where at the moment.
I just feel tomorrow's game, if there was a game on the telly tonight, I would go watch Morton against Partick Thistle, Graham. I don't know why. I think it was because Doug Embley, and I better not say that name too loud to Stephen, because I know he's his best pal and all that. But I just feel as though he's got Morton playing well, and obviously Partick Thistle might still be licking their wounds because of what happened against Ross County in the playoffs last season.
Yeah, I think they will. I mean, that could be a decent game as well. Morton Partick Thistle. We're probably getting the kiss of death for it, 0-0. But yeah, that could be a decent game. It genuinely could be. I think it was so. We did the show last season. The last game of the season, we did the penalties against Ross County against Partick, and I felt so sorry for Partick Thistle. They put so much into those two games, and we thought they were going to do it when they scored to make it 3-0 in aggregate. You thought this is done now. Fair play to County for coming back, but I mean that must have just been a massive kick in the teeth for Partick Thistle. To think, their fans are up there singing, celebrating, thinking they're coming up. To then have that taken away from them was a massive, massive disappointment, and that's got to affect them this season. But you're hoping it doesn't. You're hoping they can get back to that again. Obviously, they've lost Scott Tiffany, which is a massive, massive shame. But I think they'll be up there again. I do think they'll be up there again, but I just think that it's just such a difficult league to call. I really do believe that. Again, I do think Arbroath are going to struggle this season, which is a shame because I like Dick Campbell. I've said that before. But yeah, Morton Partick Thistle could be a great game, but every game has got such a competitive. It's just such a great league. I really do. And I'm so glad that Hearts don't play there anymore, because I hated being in there. No disrespect to those teams in there, but it's horrible. You don't want to be in there. But yeah, Partick Thistle for me, I would love to see them, making that further step and getting up, but it's going to be so difficult.
Stephen, before we go, a wee quick word about Andy Murray. Disappointing again in the US Open. This time get knocked out in the second round last night. What do you think? Do you think it's time for Andy Murray to think about retiring?
I don't know. I think he'll do one more year. I think getting into this, he didn't have much time to get much practice in Toronto and Cincinnati, and I think that really affected him against Dimitrov. Look, Dimitrov was a better player. He deserved to win yesterday. I watched it. He was kind of in at the first two sets, but the third they kind of waned a wee bit. But no, hopefully next year he can go into that season and not have any issues with injury. If he does, then I think it's time to put the racket away.
Okay, it's time for us, maybe not to put the racket away, but that's time up for us today. Thanks to Stephen, and thanks to the joke in the park, Mr. Duffy. He'll be back next year on the show. We'll be back on Sunday at 3 o'clock, looking back at the Old Firm game and the games at the weekend. Thanks for all your comments, and we'll see you again on Sunday.
The Locker